I'll tell you, we'll be having a conversation regarding education in our country, but more so the niggling issues and simmering about the concerns that either NAGRAT or NATS or the other teacher unions may have about the current bill, the pre-tertiary education bill, and then subsequently the other related bills before Parliament Education Committee on how the education sector, by way of the Education Regulatory Bodies Bill, also would be panning out subsequently. We'll have also contributing to the conversation the Chairman of Parliament's Select Committee on Education, and Mr. Ejapon Kwetu will be joining us subsequently, just for us to have a thorough discussion on the related issues. But we have the President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Mr. Angel Kabono, right here in the studio. Mr. Kabono, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And I've gone through the pre-tertiary education bill, and it says the object of the bill is to provide a decentralized pre-tertiary education system and also an educational system to produce individuals with the requisite knowledge. And as a result of that, it just chronicles what has been done by way of decentralization, the role of the various decentralization organization. We have the various MMDAs and the roles that will be playing subsequently in school management committees and who constitute which of the committees, etc. For you as various groups within the education sector, how does this bode well or not in trying to streamline the sector of education, at least at the basic level or the pre-tertiary level?
Yeah, well, education by its nature, as we have already stated, that education by its nature is not static. As time goes on, it undergoes reviews, that goes reforms to achieve better results. There is no silver bullet in solving the education problem anywhere in the world. People come with their views, people come with their position based on their research situation, and so on and so forth. But in implementing any policy in education, like any other sector, you need to sit with the various stakeholders, those who are going to implement the policy, those who the policy is going to affect, those who are going to be beneficiaries or otherwise of the policy. We all have to sit down and develop a policy that will be acceptable to all. Unfortunately, in this case of the bill, we are very disappointed in the way things have gone in relation to consultation and discussion with major key stakeholders. For example, the teachers, represented by the unions. We have been battling this education bill, not now, from the time the NDC was in power. Even the so-called new education bill that was in 2008, we battled it. And to our shock and surprise, that bill was passed into law. That bill was passed on the 6th of December. And the president ascended to on the 26th of December. I mean, when every MP's situation was at stake, nobody was going to pay attention to details.
They're not going to get the bulk.
That's it. So, and this one, we have been at it, asking the ministry to give us the draft document, for us to go and peruse the draft document, look at issues that will affect us, come back to the table. But the interesting thing, Roland, is that when it came to the tertiary bill, the draft was sent to the universities. Seminars were held. Different people, different organizations,
the
different
bill that has caught up a controversy.
People made contribution to it. How come when it came to pre-tertiary, the same thing was not done? That is where our beef is.
So it's not as if you have any difficulty with the ministry or the sponsors of the bill saying that we want to composite a bill and send to Parliament.
No, but for that is the duty.
But it is you feel that the lack of consultative
process. Yes, and for example, as I sit here, I have seen snippets of documents flying on social media. Is that authentic? I do not know. We are demanding that suspend proceedings, bring us the document that is in custody of Parliament. We'll take just about some 2 weeks to peruse the document, raise issues that we think we will have to raise, sit with the various relevant stakeholders, and come up with a legal document that is workable and that is acceptable to all.
What's the current status of the way the local government tiers or structures have been included in basic education?
Well, the current status is that there is some level of decentralization because the chief administrator of education within the district is the district director of education. You understand? And the district director of education superintends and sees over the management of schools. There are national rules that is administered and superintended by the Ghana Education Service, but the implementation is taking certain local decisions, ensuring that teaching and learning takes place within the district is administered and managed by the district director of education. You know, Roland, let me also say that we do not have a universally accepted framework for decentralization. Of education. Every country implements decentralization according to its realities. So you cannot come and give me an example of Cambodia or Kenya and say that once it is happening in Cambodia, it is going to happen very well in Ghana. There's nothing like that. So I saw somebody write a piece and say that, oh, for example, in Kenya and Malawi, I mean, I get angry when people justify policy just because it is being implemented in some strange countries.
And the social realities you say which should be recognized would be that
Ghana,
is peculiar to our environment.
Ghana is a unitary country. If when you stand at Kintampo, and let me talk some geography here, Kintampo, you have an you have an equidistant travel movement of 6 hours into any part of this country. We are not a federal state, you understand. So if you have implemented a decentralization policy, you will have to take into consideration that this is a country of 30 million people who are well woven into each other's society and so on and so forth. That movement is a reality in this country. Distance is a reality in this country. So when you want to have a national plan, you have to take that into consideration. For example, I have not seen the document. So I'm interested in the issue of who does recruitment. I want to see issues of who does transfers. I want to see issues of who does promotions.
And those are the difficulties you have.
Well, if I see the document and it does not follow...
Well, the document is from you could have just gone to Parliament and seen it.
Well, we have written to Parliament. We don't want a document be given to us and tomorrow they say that is not the authentic
But do you
document.
know that as NAGRAT and the other teacher bodies, that Parliament is an accessible public institution?
Yes, that is even why we were surprised that when Parliament got the draft document from the ministry, now the document is now the property of Parliament now. Parliament can decide to add, Parliament can decide to subtract, Parliament can decide to accept or reject. It is now parliamentary document. So when Parliament got that document and the subcommittee was formed, I was expecting that the subcommittee asked, have the teacher unions been consulted? Or Parliament invite, because they were in Koforidua about some 2 weeks ago. So they could have invited representatives of the teacher union to come before them to have a discussion on the issues of the bill that is before them. But that was not done. That was not done.
Okay, so this is what in page 16 of the bill that is now before the committee, for which the committee is dialoguing, says appointment of other staff of regional directorates. It says the president shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint other staff that are necessary for the proper and effective performance of the functions of a regional directorate. We already have various directorates regionally that tend to supervise education.
Yeah, so what this is saying, that is if this is what the bill is saying, then it means that...
Yes.
No, I mean...
But not with any amendment from the committee.
Yes. So what it means is that now regional directors of education will be appointed directly from the presidency. Is that it?
Yes.
Is that what is that the best we can have in this country, where the regional directors should be appointed from the presidency and not from the education scheme? You understand? So the politician is now taking over.
So okay, do I get the understanding that you may not necessarily you, but you, the members of the unions, you've cited a document?
No, I haven't.
No, okay. You've cited, but you don't think whether it's authentic or not.
We have seen documents on social media and on other platforms.
What is it currently? If there's supposed to be a regional directorate and the head of that directorate, who appoints it?
You see, we have the Ghana Education Service. You rise from a level to a certain level in the Ghana Education Service. Are you getting it? Currently, in the region, let's say Greater Accra region, we will have, how many districts do we have in Accra? I mean, I think we have 16 districts in Accra. So, but please, my students, forgive me. The teacher does not know all. So
You mean you stand to be correct?
I stand to be correct, absolutely. The regional director superintends over the activities of the district directorate, coordinate the
Who appoints the regional director?
Is the Ghana Education Service Council. The Ghana Education Service. And then you need to rise to a certain rank to be qualified to be appointed as a regional director of education. So the politician, we see it as a profession.
This one
it means that once
so let me read. Since you claim that you have no hindsight of this, so it says an appointment of other staff of the regional directorate. It says that
let me just say
the regional director.
Who appoints the regional director?
It says there shall be a regional director of education for each region who will be the head of the regional education directorate. I sense that you have seen this document.
Appointed by who?
You wait.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so 27.1. Now we go to 27.2. It's on page 15.
Okay.
That's the draft that's coming from the sponsors of the bill. And the sponsors of the bill will be the ministry.
Okay.
So now it's before the Committee of Education Parliament. We'll call the chairman and we'll have this input. It says now in 27.2, the president shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint each regional director of education.
Fine. So what is going to happen is that some politician somewhere is possibly going to be...
The president is just not a politician. He's a chief executive.
Yeah, no. You let me finish my statement. You understand. Some politician somewhere could be appointed as regional director of education who might not have gone through the education mill in this country. Are you beginning to see where I'm coming from? That the professionalism of education is being hijacked by the politician. Because in what you have read, once the appointment is from the presidency, what it means is that the president will now determine who becomes a regional director of education.
What's the current...
The current situation is that you need to have risen to a certain rank within the Ghana Education Service to be qualified to apply or to be appointed.
When it's advertised.
When it's advertised. When it's
by the Ghana Education Service.
So I am confident that my current regional director is an educationist who understands the nitty-gritties of education from the kindergarten level to the senior high school level. Are you beginning to understand what I'm coming? So I am protected by the conviction that my regional director is an educationist. The possibility of what you are reading is that time will come where the one who will superintend over me as a regional director may not even understand what education is, but may come with the influence of political knowledge to come and run the region.
Well, we have on the line the chairman of Parliament's Education Committee. Good morning to you, Mr. Ejapon Kwetu. Good morning, Mr. Ejapon Kwetu. Good morning, sir. Well, we're having some difficulty with the line. We'll re-establish that. We're working on that. So those are your fears. And
based on what you have read to me,
this one is the, I'll say, raw one. This one has not come out from the committee.
It is your document that I have seen. I haven't seen any other document.
I suspect that because you kept telling me the whole of last week that you hadn't seen it.
Yes.
Okay. Now it says that when that person is appointed, as the president has appointed, in 3, the regional director who already has been appointed in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution shall hold office on the terms and conditions specified in the letter of appointment.
Yes. So again, the appointing authority will specify your tenure and terms of condition, right? We may have to look at Article 191 and look at what Article 191 prescribes in the Constitution. Then you will begin to understand my fears.
Good morning, Mr. Ejapon Kwetu.
Good morning.
Yes, and I know that you're doing a lot of work for Parliament and the committee as well. You're currently out of Accra and in Sunyani. Are you in Sunyani specifically?
Yes.
Okay, good work then. And has it come to your attention that some concerns have been raised by the associations and the unions within the educational sector.
Yes.
Okay. Are you privy to some of the concerns they're raising?
Well, the thrust of their concern is that they are not aware of the details of those bills that have been given to us by the ministry. And so that as stakeholders, as the major stakeholders in the educational sector, they should have been involved in the drafting of those bills. That is what I know they are concerned about. That is the thrust of the issue that they had a press conference on.
What usually is the norm if you get a bill as a committee?
Normally, you see, the sponsoring ministry will do their draft many times with the Attorney General, and then it will be brought to Parliament for consideration. When it comes to Parliament, the Speaker will then refer to the appropriate committee. But you see, when it comes to the drafting of bills, there are some members of Parliament who have been trained some time ago. They are lawyers, they were sent outside US and so many places to go and do drafting, so they are good. So mostly, the concerned committee will, of course, invite these persons to join them looking at the various bills. But before the actual consideration starts with the committee, the committee will advertise, and also on Parliament's website, indicating that this bill has come before us, and that if anybody is interested in the bill, the person, of course, will come for the bill, look at it, and bring your issues, your concerns, before the committee even sits to consider it. And so when the bill is referred to the committee, not until those advertisements have been done, and not until you have allowed at least 2 weeks to pass, you cannot go considering the bill. So before we move out of Parliament to go and stay anywhere, maybe for a week or two to go and consider the bill, anybody who writes to the committee saying that they have concerns are invited in Parliament, and all those concerns are taken on board, written down copiously by the committee and, of course, representatives of the Attorney General before we begin to consider the bill. These things were all done with the bills that these unions are talking about. And I should think that even some of the adverts are still on our website. And so when we did this, a number of agencies, some agencies within the sector Ministry of Education, had issues. Because, the new bills are repealing some laws and adding them on. A number of agencies or regulatory bodies are coming together to be one. For instance, if you take the Accreditation Board and the Universities Regulatory Council, they are coming together to form, we're giving them one bill, so that accreditation will solely be done by the Accreditation Board, and the management and regulation, ensuring that regulation of the universities are followed, also be managed by another institution, but it will be in one bill. And so when you come to the appointment of staff who are supposed to be managing that new agency, which is a combination of 2 former agencies, of course, we have deputy directors who will be seeing to the 2 former agencies.
All right.
So this is what we have done. So a number of agencies a number of institutions within the ministry under these bills all came to us. If I remember, I can say I remember we received almost about 7 or 8 institutions or concerned associations coming to us to indicate that we have seen the draft bill here, this and that and that. And then we sat down with the Attorney General, we sat down with the ministry, and we sorted it out before we went to sit in to consider the bill. So that's what we do. So I'm surprised about NAGRAT and all those associations saying that they did not see the bill. It means, I don't know, I don't want to say this way, but it means that maybe they are not reading, they are not concerned about it. And ever since they made this press conference, I've said it several times on various platforms, come to Parliament. It is not a difficult thing. We can easily give it. It's a public document. We can give you the document, go and study it, and come back to us.
Okay.
We have gone
as a committee. Have you received any letter from these groups? I mean, as one.
I said that. Just when they had their press conference and they engaged me on various platforms, and I said that they have written a letter to us And it is available.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yesterday we left Accra,
No.
but we have received the letter and we have left instructions behind.
Okay.
Anybody at all. I mean, going to Parliament to look for information, it's not a difficult thing. You just write a letter, go in there, pick whatever information you want, unless of course that information is, let me say, sacred or something of that sort. That is not supposed to go out. Other than that, Parliament is a public place. If you want anything from you, go to a library as a Ghanaian, just go and identify yourself. You indicate what you want the document for. If there are any reason for the document to be kept from you, you'll be told. Other than that, most documents, I would say 99% of any document you want, anybody at all can walk into Parliament and collect it.
Okay. That's understandable. Before a bill comes to Parliament, the sponsoring ministry, is it possible that they would have consulted stakeholders before putting together whatever amendments that they would want?
I should think so.
Or it is not a certainty, you say? It's not a prerequisite?
Yes, I should think so, because you see, you are coming up with laws that will govern some people. And I can only say that it is proper to to consult all those people. But even that, if they don't do it, we don't take it for granted. I mean, Parliament doesn't take it for granted that they would have done it. So what we do is that we advertise, like I'm saying, it is referred to you. You advertise, vote for at least 2 weeks for people to react. Before you go ahead and consider it. And even during the consideration, anybody who comes, you see, that's why we do the consideration at the committee level, it comes to the plenary level. And at the plenary level, we even do it 3 times. First reading, second reading, and the third reading, and then the final consideration, before it is passed. So here, it is only at the committee level. It hasn't gone to the plenary level yet. So anybody at all who has any concern can still come in.
I get your point in that regard.
Yes.
Now, the sections of the bill which they say are snippets of information they have seen on.
They are what?
Snippets, as in some sections of the bill, they say they have seen. So it's just some pieces of document they've cited, but not the full document. Let's grant them that. But for example, I went to pick up the bill I've gone through, especially the pre-tertiary education bill 2019, on page 15, and I noticed that page 15, which is 27.1, on the appointment and functions before then 26 of the Regional Education Directorate. Now, the Regional Director of Education, if you go to 2, the President shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint each Regional Director of Education. That's not what happens currently, is it? Or you don't know that?
No, you see, the authority lies with the President, but usually the President will not have the time to do it. So it is done by the ministry and then sent to the President, okay, for approval. All such officers.
What does it mean? What do you think that means?
What I mean is that, you see, there are several, even if you take various ministries, there are several positions that are supposed to be appointed by the President. But the President does so in consultation with usually the board of that institution. And so the board will normally do the search in accordance with the whatever law exists and propose some people to the President. If the President agrees with that, he gives the go-ahead for the person to be appointed.
Is that the status quo currently?
Yes.
Is it not possible?
Let's look at the old bill. Are we departing from the old law? I don't think so. With the appointment, I don't think we are departing from the old laws.
Okay. So
yes.
so if the consultation is supposed to be with the President in accordance with Article 195.
No, it is the responsibility of the President.
Okay.
But the President, of course, relies on the Director General and then the Minister there.
Why is it not stated directly then that the Director General on behalf of the President will appoint? It brings clarity, right? I know this is law, but it's also English. It brings clarity, doesn't it? Because there are fears by the education groups that we could have one day, a point in time when even maybe you are not in Parliament, you are not the head of Parliament Education Committee, and those who are raising these concerns as teacher groups are also not heads of their various groups. that a politician will take it that I'm sitting at Jubilee House and I can have direct access to who has oversight responsibility of education at the regional level. It doesn't give then the opportunity for those who have gone through the mill to be given that opportunity, which currently I know is advertised by Ghana Education Service, and then you apply and etc. You go through the interview processes. If you qualify, you're picked.
Yes, that is the process now. But if you go to the law is stated as we have read. And so the president gives that responsibility to the education service or to the ministry to do that, and it is done. Usually, it will involve all those who have gone through the mill. They apply, you are interviewed, you get it, and then
so it should be stated.
It is sent. You see, the final appointment, the letter of that statement wants to indicate that the final authority rests with the president, so that even when you are appointed by the system and you are there, you should know that the appointment was by the president. And so one day, if you do anything, the president can just write a letter to you and say you are fine.
Ah, is that what it pertains currently?
Come again.
Is that what pertains currently? Because I'm thinking it's the Ghana Education Service that fires you. And of course, the head of the Education Service is appointed with the prior approval, of course.
Can they please compare with the old law? I don't think we have departed from it.
So you are saying their issues they are raising holds no water?
Well, I don't have the bill before me. You see, you are seated there, you say you have the bill, and then probably you could just refer to the old law. We are reforming or changing old laws.
Well, the current reform, the educational group says is not in consonance with normal norms in education. That's what they are saying.
That's what they are saying.
Yes, please.
Well, unless we both sit together and we look at the spirit of the old law vis-a-vis the new one.
Okay.
And we see.
So at which point in time, as the educational committee, would you then invite all these interest groups to come and make their concerns known?
No, now their issue is that they have not seen it. So now we have asked them to come for the bill. They should study and put down everything that they think needs to be addressed. And then they will write to us for money. We accept them, we'll receive them, and then we'll sit down and look at it. That's what we do. And that's what we did first. Some people came to us. Before we went to consider the bill in Kofodia, now they have come out saying that they did not see. And we have given them that opportunity. Go pick the bill, study it, compare with the old one. That is what you have now. You think that we are departing so much from it. Come to us, we'll sit. Next week we are in Accra. We'll end this trip by Saturday evening. And so from Monday onwards, even Parliament resumes on Tuesday. So if they have issues, they should consider those. They should stop talking about these issues on air. Because when you call me, at that point in time you call me, I don't have the thing before me, and you ask questions. Excuse my language. You see, I cannot be a walking
encyclopedia.
Yes, so that I'll remember whatever is in there. I should have the new bill before me. But we should have the old one. And if there's any departure from the old one, the reason will be there. Usually when we are debating this in Parliament, as a chairman, I'll be leading the debate. And so for each provision that we alter, you have to state the reason. For the other members of Parliament to either appreciate it or of course, depart from it.
Okay.
And so what we have done with the new bill, what we do is that you change something, you must write the reason on the right side or beside it. You change another thing, you write the reason there. And so you get up and you want to talk to it. You must take the change and state the reason for people to understand you and whether they will support you or not.
Okay. Please just be on the line. What would be your response to some of the issues that he's raising?
Well, he is talking the procedure that they have in Parliament, but we are also saying that, look, even if at the ministerial level we were consulted, maybe I'm sure even the document that would have gotten to them would have been maybe a different document or maybe the same document, I do not know. But what he is saying is that it also behooves of the Parliamentary Select Committee to identify stakeholders and send invitation to the stakeholders But ask him whether they have done that.
But this is advertised, he said.
Yeah, but they themselves also invited certain stakeholders.
For which your group was not.
Yes. Find out from him whether. We don't even want to go individually, the teacher unions, together. It behoves on them to have identified interest groups and extend invitation to them. That is also a responsibility they should have exhibited.
Your response to this, Mr. Kwetu?
Yes, please, we don't invite people on our own. We advertise and they will see it, they will look at the bill and come to us. We are not, Parliament is different from the executive. And we know the agencies under each ministry. And we will think that before we consider any bill, of course, we will think that all stakeholders within that particular ministry would have been consulted. But that's notwithstanding. Maybe a minister may have a challenge or a problem with somebody, and so what we do is that we advertise. And they themselves write to us and come to us for 2 weeks. Sometimes beyond that, I'm saying at least 2 weeks. In this case, in this educational bill, when it was given to us, we went to tackle it in Kofodia after about the 6th week after advertisement.
Okay.
And so many people, I mean, I remember about 7, 8 agencies came to us. We listened to them.
Well, Mr. Kwetu,
we took down their challenges and concerns before we sat on it.
Well, Mr. Kwetu, I've dealt with some parliamentary committees before, and they rather extended invitations. So I'm surprised you're saying that the committees of Parliament don't extend invitations.
Invitation is the advertisement.
And it doesn't, because you will be written to directly. That's why I'm saying that.
No, the bill. No, then it means that you'll be challenging the executive, you'll be challenging the ministry. The ministry has brought something to you and you say that, hey, you didn't do it well. I think that you didn't consult these people. Then you go ahead, the parliament will go ahead and invite people to bring their views. No. They will bring it to you and say that this is what we want to do. This is our work. And then with parliament, having that oversight over the ministry, we will say that, okay, let's advertise in case anybody has any concern. But you cannot, what you are saying is not what we do. How can a ministry bring something to you and then you think for the ministry and say that, I think you didn't invite these people, so you go ahead and go and invite people. We don't do that.
Okay.
Yes, we only advertise. So if you think that you have a challenge, come and we'll listen to you.
So it's not as if that you've taken a hardline posture.
No. We are not too hard on these issues. Okay. What we say is that before a bill is passed into law, it is considered seriously. It takes a lot of time. Sometimes you see that a bill will be read as something 2019, and then it ends. I mean, the bill itself being passed into law will end up in 2020. It tells you that it take a long time to consider all issues, because once a bill is passed into law, it will take another whole process for it to change maybe just one provision in that particular act or law. So we take our time before we come out.
All right. Wish you all the best for the day, sir, and your work you're doing for the committee. But that's Mr. William Ejapon Kwetu, Chairman of Parliament's Education Committee. But as we bring finality to the roundup of, it looks like this to be these and many of these related issues seem to be only the concerns you have with what you've seen.
Yes, yeah. So yeah. Look, by tomorrow we'll get the bills, and there are 3 bills. By tomorrow we'll get the bills. We have competent men and women to peruse the bill and come up with our suggestions, and we will send those suggestions to the appropriate quarters. So that is not a doubt at all that we will get the bill tomorrow. I'm sure within 1 week we'll go through it, raise, and then explain why we are raising these positions. And like the discussion, the issue you raised, then you will begin to see that my fear is an attempt to prevent the politicization of a professional organization, and that the time has come for us as a people to begin to draw ourselves further away from politics and emphasize on professionalism. That, unfortunately to me, in this 4th Republic, we are losing touch with. But I thought that once we pursue the agenda of democracy, we should begin. Look, the public service is not as professional as we will want it to be. The civil service is not as professional as we will want it to be. If you listen to certain press conferences held by CLOSAC, the concern of CLOSAC is that regularly politicians are beginning to eat away the certain professional positions that are held by time-tested, well-trained, apolitical workers. That is where our worry is. So when you begin to see these things in new bills, you will have to interrogate it and ensure that clauses are introduced in the bill so as to guard against an attempt by anybody. And of course, I don't think politics ends with the NPP. And I don't think that the NPP is hoping that this bill will live only with the NPP. It's a bill that is supposed to stand the test of time. So as some politicians do not come in, take over the public service and run it. This is all the law says. Look, and someone is quoted to me before that there is nowhere in the law that states that this and that a person cannot be appointed. Therefore, we will now want those nitty-gritties to be introduced into the law so as not to leave it an open-ended law that will give any politician the opportunity to take advantage of. And I know what I'm talking about.
So this is what it says. The current bill, it's going through the assessment and scrutiny of the committee. They will invite others, and I'm sure that once advertised and the teacher groups or unions are raising all the issues. 27.1, for example, there shall be a regional director of education for each region who shall be the head of the regional education directorate. Now 27.2 is quite interesting. It says, the president shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint each regional director of education.
Yeah.
3. The regional director shall hold office on terms and conditions specified in the letter of appointment from presidency. The regional director shall be responsible for coordination, etc. And it says day-to-day administration.
You know something?
And those are the fears.
When one day a regional party chairman is appointed as a regional director, and the like of myself raises concern that the person is not an educationist, someone will refer me to the law and ask me to quote from the law where it states that the person should be an educationist.
Because we are talking law.
We are talking law, and I will be handicapped. I will be handicapped because there is nowhere in the law that will prescribe the qualification of who the president appoints. Are you beginning to understand me, Roland? And I've been in this game for a while now, and I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so we'll move away from these issues and we spend the next 10 minutes as we wrap up the conversation on your own assessment so far of the issues that have come up with regards to the comprehensive sexuality education, because the president now has put a caveat to it.
Yes,
and
so
comprehensively, he touched again when he went around over the weekend.
Yeah, I think the president himself comprehensively have responded to the issue. So the comprehensive thing is more or less in abeyance. You understand? And I think that where we've got into now, all stakeholders will have to come on board and take a decision as to what type of education do we give. Let's also not chide ourselves. That one thing is that children at a certain age needs to have education of their sexuality. It protects them. It informs them, it educates them, it informs them. But then we should all sit on the table and say, what type of education? What should be the content? Age specific. Do we go moving forward? And I think that as people or as stakeholders or our interest group, we all have to sit down and then pursue that agenda.
It looks like either or the media, civil society, religious groupings, and even some of the staff within the service or the educational sector seem to have been alarmed somewhat.
Well, you see, look, when in a country like Ghana, when religious leaders raise their voices, if you ignore it at your peril. Sometimes it can even have political consequences. I can assure you. And I think that when those people raise objection, they raise hue and cry, they raise concern, it ought to be taken seriously. That is why I'm saying. And then now, maybe we will have to bring their representatives, enforceably represented, to sit down and come up with a document that is acceptable to all, so as not to affect the sensibilities of our people.
Well, when it comes to the area of the implementation of the free SHS, it looks like we now have a batch that will be going for the third year, and we'll be writing the BEC next year.
Yes.
That's a good thing. It looks like the policy implementation itself seems to have gone on well. And you guys also have been very receptive.
Yes. No, for us, you see, for us as professional teachers, we will raise issues that will affect our profession, that will affect our delivery. And we expect that those who are managers will take information and then rectify those that affect us negatively and implement those that are acceptable. Last year, a promise was made that maybe this year the total number of schools that are running double track will reduce tremendously. Unfortunately, it looks as if the projects that were supposed to have reduced the number of schools that have not been completed. We are looking for, look, the double tracks is supposed to solve a problem. We need to take that problem away by providing increased infrastructure in the various schools so that the number of students that will go within a term will expand laterally. You see, so that we have a single track. We were thinking, but unfortunately, some of the projects are still in construction. But one thing I'd like to say, Roland, is that there is something that the Ghanaian parent is looking for. The Ghanaian parent is looking for a very good school, and the Ghanaian parent is looking for a school that is boarding. Majority, I can say that about 90% of Ghanaian parents want their children to go to boarding schools. Over 90% of Ghanaian parents want to go to boarding schools. If this is a reality, as a nation, we will have to respond to this reality. That is it. There are people within, let's say, if there is a school in Medina, parents who want their children to go to boarding schools in Medina. And the reasons are there. The distractions, the external influences of the homes are so much that parents are not confident that their children will have that presence of mind to study. There's another issue is that look at the type of homes that we have, where the television will have to go off for some of our children to even sleep. In such an environment, how can children even prepare? So there are several reasons why parents will want their children to. If this is what the Ghanaian parent wants, then as a nation, we will have to respond to it.
But it's not because you, the teachers, as well as those who have gone to the schools previously, formed old boys and girls associations, have created a certain criteria for school selection. Well, also certain brand for the schools across. Well,
there are some 60 schools in this country that everybody, including Roland and myself, we all want our children to go. And I can mention them here for you. I can mention the Presex. I can mention my old school, Pope John's. I can mention Opokuare. 60. Across
all the regions.
And those 60 schools provide over 75% of students for the universities. So it is an attraction. And they have the well-organized old students who consistently contribute towards the development of the schools. These are the schools that everybody wants to send their children to. Over 18,000 students choose Wesley Girls in this current 18,000, and only about Wesley Girls can take away about 1,000 or 1,500 also. The same happened to Presec, the same happened to Achimota, the same happened to Vansapem, and so on. And there are schools that nobody wants to choose. So this is what creates the problem.
Why is it then that we don't expand the existing schools then?
No,
so if people want to travel and go to boarding school, then we'll have bigger schools. So Infansipim can then take 10,000.
No, I don't think we should. You see, the Infansipims have niched a certain image for themselves over the years. Can we now begin to look at other schools and see whether we can provide what Infansipim is having?
But we have schools that have everything that Infansipim will have.
Give me an example.
New school blocks.
Yeah, but are they boarding schools? If they are not boarding schools, you can have one of the most beautiful and attractive school blocks. It will not be attractive for the type of parentage to want to send their children to those schools.
How come in America the high schools are day schools?
Yeah, their society, you see, their society is different. Even in America, when you put up the boarding schools, parents will not even go. Their society is not formulated in that manner.
It's the inverse.
It's the inverse. They don't have homes that you and I grew up. Oh well, sorry, I don't know. Maybe you come from a bourgeois. Okay, fine. So they don't have. Me, I grew up in Medina.
So hustlers.
We are hustlers. They don't have homes that we grew up from. I personally slept in a room with about 7 siblings.
So they don't have homes that
is conducive for study, and the parents are aware of that. And the reason why parents sacrifice so much to send, no matter how poor they are, they sacrifice so much to send their children to basic schools that are private, is to make them pass so that they can go to those schools, those secondary schools that we are mentioning. It's a whole discussion we need to have in this country. So a school like WAS in Adenta, or Ashama Senior High School at Ashama, the moment you put up, and Ashama Senior High School is a day school.
Yes.
Yes. You put up a boarding facility for Ashama Senior High with kitchen and everything. You begin to see students moving from Tema and so on and so on. That school will transform immediately. The same applies to WAS. That is the unfortunate. That is why certain heads of schools in the past who have realized this reality quickly started putting up hostels contributed by PTA. A school like St. John's Grammar. St. John's Grammar was doing well some time ago until they decided to make St. John Grammar a day school. And then St. John Grammar nearly died. They had to revert to the boarding facility for St. John Grammar to come up. That is Ghana.
Not that you have made it that way.
No, we have all made it that way as a people.
Okay. All right. So what then is the intel you get from members across the senior high schools about the state of infrastructure, how quickly they are being undertaken to meet timelines? Because already we're behind time. We're supposed to have left the current state by the new academic.
And this I'm talking from observation. If there is the possibility that resources are available and all those projects can end before the next academic year begins, that I'm talking about the 2020 academic year begins, and again I'm talking about both classroom facilities and then boarding house facilities, then some of the schools may be taking off the double track. But this is something that I think that it is the ministry that can give you more detailed information than I can on this matter.
Well, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much, and thank you for passing through as well. We hope that the ministry, as well as now that the bills, but especially the pre-tertiary education bill is.
There are 3 bills.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
but the other one is a substitute for the non-formal educational.
We are interested in it.
You are interested.
Very interested in it.
What's your issue with that one?
No. We are just interested in it as stakeholders.
Oh, okay. So we have 3 bills before. The Parliamentary Select Committee on Education. We have the Complementary Agency Bill 2019, and it's going to take the place of the non-formal education division, subsequently going to improve the way non-formal education is undertaken in our country, because we have a section of the population that still need that sort of education while they are adults. Then we have the Education Regulatory Bill, in which, if you peruse this document, talks about the commissions that will be established as a body to do the regulation of education. Currently we don't have commissions, and so that helps in the perspective. The various groupings within the sector are interested in it. Then we have the one that has been causing the troubles within the rank and file of the education groups in our country, the pre-tertiary education bill. And again, I have to let you know about, if you go to page 15 of the current bill, of course, it's been looked at by the committee, and 27.1 says there shall be a regional director of education for each region, who shall be the head of the regional education directorate. The president shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint each regional director and their affairs. Already we know that the Education Service Director General is appointed subsequently in this.
And there are other fears.
Yes, I've gone through.
There are other very major fears. very major fears. Yes,
so,
yes.
You say you haven't gone through.
The snippets that I got from social media.
Okay.
There are major fears.
Okay, you these groups.